Monday from Dunedin to Seminole and all around Tampa Bay, plus worldwide on iHeartRadio.
The gloves are off. I'm playing hardball. It's 4th and 15, and you're looking at a full court press.
You're tuned into the voice of the Tampa Bay sports fan.
You're going to like this guy. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us.
Buckle up, because you're on the drive with TKras. Afternoons on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
Welcome aboard on this Monday. Good, bad, and ugly Monday. Good afternoon, Tampa Bay. It is The Drive with TKras, presented by Moss Nissan. It is on the air. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. You've got executive producer riding shotgun. His name is Chris Mathis, and of course, you're there. I think it's great. We are live in living color, don't you know? And 95.3 on the FM side, the mighty AM 620. And don't forget to download the iHeartRadio app. It's absolutely free. It is the new and improved iHeartRadio app, by the way, don't you know? So get on it. You have presets. There's a scan feature on there like you would do in your car radio. So you can also do presets like you would do in your car radio. Your favorite radio station, WDAE, you can do that on there. Your favorite podcast, The Drive Podcast, boom, do it. Commercial-free podcasts of this show can be accessed, by the way, through the new and improved iHeartRadio app. Download it, and you can listen to us from anywhere in the civilized world through the app. And good afternoon to all of you who are watching us on the stream. We're on YouTube, Facebook, and X at 953 WDAE and AM 620. Like and subscribe all day, every day. You know the phone number. So many ways to interact on this program. 888-546-4620. That's the phone number. If you want to chime in, you can also text in your thoughts at 82945. Begin that text with DAE, followed by your comments in 140 characters or less. And all guests will appear via the Central Florida Behavioral Health Network DAE hotline. What a huge show we've got for you. Rick Stroud is going to join us a little bit later on. He is up in Jacksonville for the Liam Cohen introductory press conference, which is taking place, by the way, at 3:30 up in Jacksonville, Duval, or whatever they call it up there. So Rick Stroud will join us later at around 5:10 or so. So we'll get his thoughts on Liam Cohen, that presser. The Buccaneers search for an offensive coordinator is already underway. They've done several interviews to this point. So who's the front runner for the job? It's a very attractive job, a highly coveted job, as we talked about last week, and a lot of people want it. So we'll get Rick Stroud a little bit later on. He's up in Jacksonville. He will join us in that 5 o'clock hour. Also, right up at 5 o'clock, before we bring Rick on, we have a special announcement. It's big, huge announcement right here on this program.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too, Coach. I can't wait to tell you about it. 5 o'clock.
Say that again.
Yes, Jason Light. You can listen to at 5 o'clock for a big announcement right here on this program. So I'm excited about that. And then at 4 o'clock, Fox Sports NFL insider Jordan Schultz is going to be with us here on the program. He is the host of the weekly NFL show, Why is Draymond Green Talking About Football? Very interesting title for that podcast and show that he's doing. And he's going to join us. He was all over the Liam Cohen thing last week, so we'll get his perspective as to how it all fell apart for the Buccaneers and how it all came together for the Jacksonville Jaguars and Shad Khan. That's what loser organizations do. They're champions of the offseason. During the season, you're not going to hear a peep out of them. They've never been to a Super Bowl. So we'll talk to Jordan Schultz about all things NFL, a lot of different things happening. Liam Cohen being introduced. I saw Aaron Glenn's introductory press conference with the Jets. I mean, da-da-da-da-da-da. Wow. Impressive. Now, look, I've seen guys win the opening press conference and then they fall flat on their face.
What's an example of a coach that's done that, Tom?
Well, I mean, Greg Schiano, a lot of people thought that he won the opening press conference here, and, you know.
I shouldn't have brought that up.
Yeah, you shouldn't have.
That was ugly.
So I thought Aaron Glenn knocked it out of the park, man. So much passion and enthusiasm, and he's so genuinely excited to be the head coach of that franchise, which look, like Jacksonville, they've had a lot of missteps. It's been almost 15 years since they've been to the playoffs. So I was watching him, though, and he is truly excited. A guy was drafted by the Jets 30 years ago, and now, 30 years later, it's come full circle. Player, and then he was a scout when he began his post-playing career. Scout, coach, defensive coordinator, and now he's a head coach, and I think he'll do well. I wish him the very best of luck, but if you've got a minute, go watch Aaron Glenn. Like the first 5 minutes of that press conference, that's about as good as it gets, folks, and I wish him the very best of luck, and he's going to need it. He actually called out Aaron Rodgers in that presser. Aaron Rodgers probably like, what? He's talking about me? Who is talking about you? He was talking about you. And there's been some dialogue there. We're going to talk to Jordan Schultz about that, too. A lot of things happening around the NFL. What are the Cowboys doing, by the way? Brian Schottenheimer, really? That's the best you can do if you're Jerry Jones? Brian Schottenheimer.
Slapdick prospect.
You got that right. So there's a lot to discuss with Jordan Schultz. We've got the good, the bad, and the ugly. 4 hours of sports talk, extravaganza, entertainment, all the way up until 7 o'clock. Your calls and your texts and everything else in between. Jordan Schultz at 4. Big announcement at 5. Rick Stroud at 5:10. And we've got the good, the bad, and the ugly at 5:30 all the way up until 7 o'clock.
You're on the phone for 3 hours. Let me finish.
You know what? Get your ass on the phone, and maybe I will let you finish. Super Bowl 59. The matchup is all set. How do you feel about Kansas City versus Philadelphia and how these two teams got there, by the way? That is the theme of our opening drive.
Start the engine. Gas to the floor. Here's the opening drive.
And the opening drive is presented by my guys over at Chattanooga Whiskey and the award-winning 91, the Chattanooga Whiskey 91. Available at your local retailer. Drink Chattanooga whiskey and enjoy responsibly. By the way, I wasn't in the building on Friday. Our AE, Shannon Gibson, has got a little present for me. I got to go back there and visit her during the break. It's a beautiful thing. Chattanooga whiskey. We're all over it. Proud sponsors of the opening drive. Well, I need to do a better job sitting in this chair. I got to be honest with you people. So my championship Sunday picks on Friday was more from down here. I'm pointing to my chest instead of up here, my big cranium. I wanted to see Buffalo. I wanted to see Washington. I wanted to see Josh Allen versus Jaden Daniels. Obviously, it didn't come to fruition. I did not want to see Kansas City. I mean, are we tired of Kansas City? The answer is yes. I think there's Kansas City fatigue taking place all across this country of ours outside of Kansas City. And the Eagles, for good reason, because their fans are intolerable. And I just don't like the way Nick Sirianni conducts himself. Now, on the field, man for man, they might be the most talented team in the NFL. From 1 to 53 on that roster. They are that good. But now we've got a rematch from a couple of years back in the Super Bowl. Up in New Orleans, Super Bowl 55. The Chiefs going for the three-peat. The Eagles looking for some retribution after what happened a couple of years ago where Jalen Hurts, I thought, outplayed Patrick Mahomes in that big game. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. Mahomes' magic reigned supreme. And that's what we've seen the last 7 years since Patrick Mahomes has been a starting quarterback. 7 years, and this is truly remarkable, folks. 7 straight trips to the AFC Championship game. And now, his 5th appearance in the Super Bowl. Extraordinary. There's just no way around it. And I'm hearing talk about GOAT talk, and I'll get into that in a matter of moments. Believe you me. But you got to give the Chiefs a lot of credit. They're well coached. And in order for you, and I talked about this on Friday, if you're Josh Allen and the Bills, in order for you to go in there and win this game, the AFC Championship, in Mahomes' house, not only will you have to beat him, you got to beat the officials. And guess what? That didn't happen either. Now, I want to be clear. I don't think the officiating is the reason why the Bills lost that game. They had an opportunity. Down 3, had the ball, didn't work. 4th down play, give Steve Spagnuolo all the credit in the world. And Josh Allen talked about this postgame. He threw a blitz at Josh Allen that he wasn't expecting. Here comes Trent McDuffie off the corner. There were 2 guys free running right at Josh Allen. Now, you got to give Josh Allen a lot of credit because here comes an all-out blitz. He didn't have time to look to his left because Khalil Shakir, who won in motion, if you go back and watch the play, he was coming out of motion, going to his left. Josh Allen had no time to look that way because he was wide open. Like on a little wheel route right there in the flat. Khalil Shakir was wide open. If Josh Allen looks to his left, pops it out to him, that's a big play. It might have been a touchdown because there was nobody out there with Khalil Shakir. Nobody. But Steve Spagnuolo dials up a well-crafted blitz. And even with that, you miss Shakir. Josh Allen throwing off his back foot, being hit, throws one of the more extraordinary balls you will ever see to a wide open. Another guy was wide open, Dalton Kincaid, who drops it. That's not Josh Allen's fault. Dalton Kincaid has to hold on to it. If you're going to slay the dragon, you've got to make big plays like that with your season on the line, in the postseason especially. You saw last week with Mark Andrews, and then you saw yesterday with Dalton Kincaid. You got to make that catch without question. Now, early in the 4th quarter, the Bills had the lead. 4th down and inches, you had to get to the Kansas City 40. 22-21 Bills when this occurred, early in the 4th quarter. And he decided to go for a quarterback sneak. And I'll tell you, man, I thought Josh Allen got there. All you had to do was get to the 40, and it looked like he was there. He had it until he didn't have it. And then the officials got together. They reviewed it. Nope, we're going the other way. Brutal. And that was big because Kansas City went down the field. They scored. Patrick Mahomes on a 10-yard touchdown run. He had quite a few design runs, which I thought was very interesting. Another interesting wrinkle by Andy Reid. And then he found the former Buccaneer Justin Watson for the 2-pointer and make it 29-22. Now the Bills, and Josh Allen's credit, they came back. They went down the field 70 yards. On the 4th down play, Josh Allen with a great pass to Curtis Samuel in the back of the end zone, tied the game. And after Harrison Butker made it 32-29 on a field goal, listen, 3.5 minutes left. You got the ball. Josh Allen had a chance to go down the field, score, win the game, finally beat Mahomes, and finally get to a Super Bowl. And it didn't happen. 4th and 5, all-out blitz. And Josh Allen, I thought, made the most of that opportunity. I'm not going to put this game on Josh Allen, by the way. Look, the Bills' defense, you got to make a play at some point. And that is Sean McDermott's responsibility. That's his department. By the way, Kansas City scored 32 points. That's the first time all season, regular season, playoffs, where the Bills scored more than 30 points. They scored exactly 30 points against the Carolina Panthers, and they scored exactly 30 points against your Tampa Bay Buccaneers in that overtime win on that Monday night. He's right. Where Todd Bowles didn't go for the 2-pointer. I don't want to get into that again. We know.
Not at this time.
Not at this time, no, but you should have went for 2. But that was the first time the Chiefs scored more than 30 points. And it held up. So, just a devastating loss for Josh Allen, who's now 0-4 lifetime in the postseason against Patrick Mahomes. And I feel for him, and I feel for Bills Mafia. I do. Long-suffering fan base, 4 straight Super Bowls, lost them all. And now with this Josh Allen leading the way, you have a chance to get there. Unfortunately, and look, this is through no fault of Josh Allen's, you're playing in the same era as one of the all-time greats in Patrick Mahomes. You know who Josh Allen reminds me of? And as a Knicks fan growing up, I'm about to tell you, he reminds me of Patrick Ewing. Ewing, great player. Great. Guess what? He couldn't get past Michael Jordan. You could also call, like, Charles Barkley. Josh Allen could be Charles Barkley. Lamar Jackson could be Karl Malone. But you always ran into the greats. The unfortunate part of Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen playing in today's NFL in this era is that they have another guy in that conference with them who's just flat out better and might be, when it all goes down, one of the all-time greats. He and Brady are probably going to be a conversation, and I know a lot of people are starting that conversation, 1 and 1A. But I'll just say this, that was his 17th win. He surpassed Joe Montana in terms of all-time postseason wins. 17, very impressive. Guess what? You're halfway to Tom Brady, who's got 35. So let's simmer down the whole GOAT talk, all right? There's no question he's on an unbelievable roll, a heater. 7 years as a starter, 7 consecutive conference title games, in the Super Bowl now for a 5th year. Now he's going for a three-peat, which we haven't seen in the Super Bowl era. And as I talked about on Friday, the last time anybody came that close in the Super Bowl era, well, the 49ers in the late 80s. They won it in 88. They won it again in 89. And then 1990, they got to the NFC Championship game, and they lost to the Giants, 15-13. But now the Chiefs are a victory away from history. And it would be incredibly impressive to three-peat in an era where there's free agency, and unlike baseball, the situation and the financial setup is very conducive to anybody building a winner if you have the right people in charge, owner, GM, so on and so forth down the line. But I just feel for Josh Allen. I feel for the Bills. And you saw how distraught he was after the game. As for the Chiefs, they're on their way. Dan Orlovsky, who I have a lot of respect for, he talked this morning on the Four Letter Network about the Bills and Josh Allen falling short yet again.
I think it's the most haunted organization. It might be the most haunted player in the history of the NFL. I mean, 4 straight Super Bowl losses 30-plus years ago. And now 4 straight losses to Patrick Mahomes when your quarterback plays just as good in all those games. The point differential in them is 5 points. We're talking about the difference between a career that we could categorize as an all-time great and just really good right now.
Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley. That's Josh Allen for you. Lamar Jackson, same thing. Unfortunately, you're just playing in the same era as Patrick Mahomes. Meanwhile, on the other side, jubilation. You saw Tay-Tay. She was there. Not that anyone cares. I don't, really. But she's there. I know Mathis's fiance is a huge... She loves Taylor Swift, right?
Oh, that's correct. I also like Taylor Swift, too. And, Tom, when I knew she was there, game over. Before the game even started, I knew that the Chiefs were going to win that game.
Well, her boyfriend always seems to play better when she's there. You got to show off in front of the girlfriend,
And then you got to, his demeanor afterwards kind of gave off try-hard vibes because Taylor was standing right there. But anyway.
Well, look, I mean, that's just him. But here was Taylor Swift's boyfriend talking about his BFF, Patrick Mahomes, and how cool and collected he is under these pressure moments.
Whatever he's got to do to get us to the next level or to win the game, Pat's going to do it. And that's whether if it's putting his body on the line or giving it to somebody else for them to do it. That's why he's the ultimate competitor.
He is the ultimate competitor. There's no question. And just, the Chiefs are there again, going for the three-peat. And as for the Bills, and I'll just say this, man, and I'm not campaigning for anyone to get third prize, but if you're the Bills and if you're Bills ownership, you got to start thinking about this. Should we view Sean McDermott in the same way Buccaneers ownership viewed Tony Dungy back in the day when Dungy had an all-time great defense, and McDermott doesn't have that? In fact, he's a defensive guy, and the defense, I thought, failed him yesterday in that game in Kansas City. But are the Bills going to go as far as they're going to go with Sean McDermott as their head coach? Something needs to change. Close, but no cigar. Almost there, can't get over the hump. And that's something that the Bills are going to have to figure out. When they reevaluate going into the offseason, what are we doing? Is Sean McDermott the guy? Because it has some Tony Dungy type of vibes here. He's there, gets to a conference championship game, can't get over the top, can't get into the Super Bowl. Now, the quarterback sneak, the officials not spotting the ball. One official spotted first down, and the other guy says, no, he's too short. So that's not Sean McDermott's fault. But, again, when you go back to Tony Dungy, Bert Emanuel, that wasn't his fault either back in the day. So you got to start asking those questions. And those are tough questions for the Bills and their ownership to ask. Is Sean McDermott the guy to get us over the top? Or do we think about a change? You see, this is why Bill Belichick taking that job in North Carolina really is costly. Because I think Belichick can go in there and fix it. Belichick, paired up with Josh Allen, yes, sir. That would be a marriage made in heaven right there. I think that's what the Bills need. Now they have the entire offseason to think about it. And as for the Eagles, I'm watching that game. I know we got a break. 888-546-4620. We'll get to your calls in a matter of moments here on The Drive. Look, the Eagles are impressive. Anytime you rush for 7 touchdowns, that's historic. The way they run the ball is unlike anything you've ever seen. And the big difference yesterday was that their passing game showed up in a very big way. I thought Jalen Hurts played an amazing game. Right off the bat, Commanders get the ball. They go downfield, an 18-play drive. They convert on 2 fourth-down conversions. They kick a field goal. I thought at 4th and 3, if you're Dan Quinn, you went for it twice. He probably felt like he was pushing his luck. I thought they were going to go for it on 4th and 3. He kicked a field goal. You know what? It's a long drive. Let's get some points. I kind of understand that. And then the Eagles took all of one play to score. 60-yard touchdown by Saquon Barkley. That was a demoralizing moment, number one. Number two, late in the first half, 4th and 5, Eagles go for it. Jalen Hurts with a perfectly thrown ball on a go route down the left sideline. A.J. Brown, who was tremendous. I didn't see the book on the sideline, by the way. It looks like he was fully engaged, but he beats our guy, Marshawn Lattimore, for a big play of 31 yards, and that set up a touchdown. And then the ensuing kickoff, the Commanders fumbled, Eagles recovered, then they scored another touchdown. That was it right there. You're done. You can't turn it over 4 times, and the Eagles capitalized on all 4 turnovers. They put 55 points up. Hell of an effort. And look, Jalen Hurts I thought was great. If he can stretch the defense, and we'll have 2 weeks to talk about this Chiefs-Eagles matchup, but I absolutely think the Eagles can beat the Chiefs. They can. If that passing game shows up in New Orleans with the way they run the ball, I think the Eagles will win the game. But we'll have plenty of time to talk about that. It's not my official prediction. I'm just telling you, the Eagles can absolutely win, even though Kansas City is a slight favorite to open up the line. And we'll have plenty of time to talk about Super Bowl 59, Chiefs against the Eagles. Your thoughts on Championship Sunday, 888-546-4620. Text at 82945. Jordan Schultz, Fox NFL Insider at 4 o'clock. Rick Stroud is up in Jacksonville, where they are about to introduce Liam Cohen as their new head coach. Rick Stroud will join us at 5:10. We've got a big announcement coming up at 5 o'clock here on the program. The good, the bad, and the ugly at 5:30. All the way up until 7 o'clock. Come with us on The Drive. When we come back, your calls and texts. And as Liam Cohen is about to be introduced, the Buccaneers are looking for his replacement. Who has got the leg up on being the next offensive coordinator here in Tampa Bay? We'll tell you about it next here on The Drive.
You're locked in to The Drive with TKras.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know what it looks like out there. Actually, the weather's been spectacular. A little chilly at night, But I'll tell you what, air and water, and we are inside the Rude Air and Water Studios here at Feather Sound. Air and water are two things a certified Rude Pro partner knows an awful lot about. You know you can rely on Rude when it comes to your indoor air being comfortable. Heat, AC, the experts there. And now you know you can rely on Rude to make sure your hot water is flowing whenever you need it. Rude Water Heating is the industry leader for total water heating solutions. If you need conventional tank-type water heaters, they've got that. Tankless water heaters, that's what I've got, by the way. They do that too. Replacement parts and accessories for all categories, check and check. Rude is your one-stop solutions provider, don't you know? And with the exclusive backing of my guys over at Ferguson HVAC, your certified Rude Pro partners will get the best products and parts when you need it. Rude water heaters, engineered tough and built to last. For AC and water heating solutions, connect with a certified Rude Pro partner now. Go online, rudeacflorida.com. That's Rude, R-U-U-D, acflorida.com. Tell them Tom Kresnick is
Go to 953WDAE.com/rules. You're locked into The Drive with TKras, presented by Moss Nissan on WDAE.
Liam Cohen just touched down in Jacksonville. Let's get this thing started off right here. 3, 2, 1.
You'd keep your mouth shut if you knew it was good for you, buddy.
That was Liam Cohen. You know, the Jaguars put out a couple of videos. He's about to be introduced as the new head coach up in Jacksonville. Rick Stroud is up there in Duval, and he will join us coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. But listen, what's done is done. Best of luck to you, Liam Cohen, new head coach, Jacksonville Jaguars. And look, I think the Buccaneers were upset for about 24 to 48 hours, and now all of that has subsided, right? You got to move forward eventually. As we welcome you back, by the way, it's The Drive, 3:36 on your ride home on this Monday. Your calls coming up, 888-546-4620. And as I mentioned last week, and we'll talk to Rick Stroud coming up just after 5 o'clock, big announcement coming up straight at 5 o'clock involving this program. And at 4 o'clock, Jordan Schultz, Fox NFL insider, will join us as well. He was all over the Liam Cohen thing as well. Look, this is a highly coveted position. Bucs offensive coordinator. There are a lot of guys who want it. You're going to see some big names, too, associated with it. One of the names I gave you, kind of like the wild card, is Chip Kelly, the Ohio State offensive coordinator. I heard his name tossed about over the weekend. Whether or not he gets an interview remains to be seen. But the Buccaneers did conduct a couple of interviews over the weekend. Among the guys they talked to, Grant Udinski, who's an offensive assistant with the Vikings. Obviously, Sam Darnold had a big year. Udinski's all of 29 years old. So he's only been at this for about 5 years here in the NFL. Marcus Brady, the Chargers passing game coordinator, he also interviewed with the Buccaneers over the weekend. And look, obviously, Justin Herbert, tremendous guy to work with. He was also with the Colts as their offensive coordinator for 2 years. That first year, they were number 2 in running the football behind Jonathan Taylor. So Marcus Brady is getting an interview. And another guy that the Buccaneers like out with the Rams, shocker. And look, a lot of these guys that they want to talk to are from that Sean McVay coaching tree. Nate Scheelhaas is the Rams offensive assistant. He's the passing game specialist. Again, another young guy. Didn't call plays for the Rams. Spent some time at Iowa State under Matt Campbell. That's where Rocco Beck, our good buddy, is. That's Anthony Beck's kid, who just had another really good year at Iowa State. But, he's another guy that some teams are high on, so the Buccaneers have their eye on him, and there will be others. Josh Grizzard, in-house. He's one of the in-house guys that the Buccaneers will consider. The Bucs passing game coordinator. His specialty was third downs. That's what he, spent a lot of time and focus on, and the Buccaneers were number 1 in the NFL on third down offense. So I think he's one of the in-house guys that the Bucs will consider. Look, they'll cast a wide net. They'll interview a lot of guys. I'm telling you, there are a lot of guys who want this job. There are no shortage of candidates. Yes, while Liam Cohen was really good, especially when it comes to the run game, the Bucs were top 5 in every statistical category. That's why the Jaguars want him. Look, good luck to him. He's making now his $12, $13 million a year, more than twice what the Buccaneers were going to pay him. But all of that is in the past. The Bucs would be just fine. He's not taking Wirfs or Baker or Mike Evans with him or Bucky with him. The Bucs is still loaded on offense. I would not worry. Might there be a slight regression because you got to learn an entirely new system? Yes. But you know what? These guys are still really good. And the Bucs have upper level type of talent at the most important positions. So I think their offense is going to be fine. It's the defense that's going to need work in terms of finding a corner, finding an edge rusher, and that's going to be incumbent upon Jason Light and Todd Bowles to get that done. I did say that, Levante. And, of course, your future is also going to be a very hot topic. and the future of one Chris Godwin. 888-546-4620. Let's go to phones. Bill is up in Odessa. Bill, good afternoon, sir. What's going on?
Hey, good afternoon, Tom. How are you?
Great. Terrific. What's going on?
Just great. Hey, so it was funny. You made that comment, and as it relates to Mahomes and Michael Jordan and running into that juggernaut of an athlete. And I thought about football, and the next thing came to mind is Tiger Woods. I'm like, oh, I thought about Lefty and go, how many times do you think he went, oh, my God, this is who I had to run into, this phenom. How many times Lefty was like second place and right there and runs into this legend of golf. That's kind of the analogy I feel for definitely for Allen and the Bills.
No, it's a great comparison because, Lefty probably would have won more tournaments. Now, look, he made a ton of money anyways from doing what he did.
Oh, sure.
But, had Tiger Woods not been around, I mean, we might be talking about him in the same breath of the all-time greats.
You could probably add about 10 other golfers as well.
Yeah, that's true. For sure. Thanks,
all right.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate you.
You got it, Bill. It's Bill up in Odessa, our neck of the woods. 888-546-4620.
Our neck of the woods is in you and I, Tom.
Yes.
And this is so crazy that I live like 5 minutes from your house,
Somebody just texting in, like, are you still efforting to get Liam Cohen on the show? I think that's not going to happen.
Not at this time.
Not at this time, no. I don't think Liam Cohen is coming on this show.
I don't think the Jags would even allow that.
The Jaguars will not allow that. I would be very interested in talking to him, but the Jaguars no way would allow that to happen. Somebody mentioning Brian Greasy as an offensive coordinator. Look, I think the Bucs will look at a number of different guys. Jake Peets is another guy. I know Scott Reynolds has mentioned him. He interviewed last year with the Buccaneers when they were looking for an OC. So he's another guy that the Buccaneers certainly could turn to. Look, they're going to take their time. There's so many guys who want this job, and the Buccaneers will settle on the right guy. And I'll tell you this, too. Baker Mayfield is going to have input. There's no question about that. And he should have input. If he's going to work with his 8th offensive coordinator in as many years, Baker Mayfield will probably have some input into this decision. And he should. He absolutely should. We'll talk to Rick Stroud about that just after 5 o'clock. And then just after 4 o'clock in about 20 minutes, yes, we'll get with Fox Sports NFL insider Jordan Schultz. He was all over that Liam Cohen story, as was us, as was Rick Stroud, as was a lot of people. As to all of that, how that unfolded, I'm telling you, man, that was like a Lifetime made-for-TV movie event. How he ghosted, lied to the Bucs, and then went up to Jacksonville. Look, again, the problem is you want to go out, you want to make your $1 million, $5, $10, $12 million in the case of Liam Cohen. You could do that. It's just the way he went about it in a very nefarious, very secretive, very underhanded way. He could have just been on and say, look, they fired Trent Baalke. They got in contact with me. Now that that obstacle has been cleared out of the way, I think this is something that I'm really interested in pursuing again. That's all you had to do. What's with all the secrecy? And the lying. And you bring your family into it, and that was just so unfortunate. I feel bad for his kid, and, his wife started putting things on necks. I mean, just a mess of the situation. And
is that a problem?
It is a problem. He didn't handle it well. And I mentioned this, too, on Friday. Liam Cohen, one day soon, once the dust settles and everything calms down, he's going to be up in his fancy little office.
It does look pretty fancy. I'm not going to lie, Bucs fans. I've seen it. There's some photos on social media. It looks pretty nice.
It's a very fancy office.
But anyway.
Overlooking a practice field. But one day, really soon, he's going to lean back in his chair. He's going to look out the window. He's going to reflect on everything that has happened. And he's going to say to himself, damn, I really should have handled that better. And that matters. Because if he flames out in Jacksonville and has to look for a job in like 2, 3, 4 years, whatever it is, teams are going to remember what he did and how he went about it. Teams are going to look at his resume. 1 year here, 1 year there, bounce back here, go back there. Holy Cross here, Kentucky there, Rams, Kentucky, Rams, Kentucky, Rams, Kentucky, Bucks, Jacksonville.
Bucks. Maybe you'll try. I know that bridge has been burned.
Yeah, no, dude. He firebombed that bridge. There's no way. No way. You do not burn bridges, man. And whatever. Look, this is for you youngsters out there. I don't know how many young people listen, millennials or whatnot, to the show. Be very careful about what you put on social media. Be very careful about burning bridges. Don't do it. Even if you felt like you were wrong by an employer, you just never know. That sort of thing comes around. What goes around comes around. Don't burn bridges, no matter what line of work and profession that you're in. 888-546-4620. Text at 82945. There's a little bit of news regarding the Rays. The owner is speaking about the stadium situation. So what's happening there? Details coming your way next here on The Drive.
You're locked in to The Drive with TKras.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is The Drive. It is presented by our guys over at Moss Nissan, where the goal is to never lose your business over price. Chris Mathis also alongside. I'll tell you something. I was at Moss Nissan of Newport Richie, and Chris Mathis, I've been driving around in that 2025 Nissan Murano. Oh, my goodness. Unbelievable ride. Unbelievable. Smooth ride, elegant, classy, has enough room for my long, lanky, long legs of mine. Unbelievable ride over the weekend. And I want to thank Brad Meredith and the guys for setting that up. And I've been driving around in that. You can put yourself behind the wheel of a Murano or an Armada or a Rogue or a Pathfinder. Right now over at Moss Nissan to begin the new year, if holiday hangovers have you down or the credit card debt may be holding you back a little bit, they've got the cure.
That they do, Tom. No money down, plus no payments are due until the spring, Tampa Bay.
Unbelievably right. And plus you'll get Moss Care with every purchase, which means lifetime oil changes and tire rotations for as long as you own the vehicle. That's beautiful too.
You're going to get all of this and so much more, plus the largest selection of Nissan inventory in Tampa Bay.
They've got 3 convenient locations, so check it out. Tampa, Newport Richie, love my peeps up at NPR. We had a great time there on Friday, and they're also up in Brooksville. Check them out online at mossnissan.com. That's mossnissan.com. Moss Nissan, whatever it takes.
on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
All right, welcome back. 3:53 on your ride home on a very busy Monday in Tampa Bay. Hope all of you had a great weekend. The Drive with yours truly, Tom Krasnicki. You got Chris Mathis on the other side. Jordan Schultz, NFL insider from Fox, will be with us just after 4 o'clock. Rick Stroud, who is currently at the Liam Cohen press conference, he'll be with us at around 5:10. Big announcement coming up regarding this show at 5 o'clock. No, we are not getting canceled, as some of you are intimating on the text platform. Idiots. 888-546-4620. All right, Stu Sternberg actually spoke out today. He was at an event this morning. It's an event that highlights all the mayors from around Tampa Bay, Jane Castor, Ken Welch, Bruce Rector, that is the Clearwater mayor, at the Vinoy Golf Club this morning. So big event there. So Stu Sternberg was there, and the Tampa Bay Times caught up to him because the Rays have until March the 31st to sign off on the big stadium project. The Rays are responsible for $700 million plus cost overruns, and it's probably going to cost more than that. It will cost more than that. So it'll be interesting to see how the Rays handle it. And Stu said, quote, "We'll decide how we want to proceed at that point. Well before that point, we have to make a decision, so we'll have something soon by then." And when he was asked what would be behind that decision, Sternberg said, "I don't know. I'll make sure our organization does whatever is necessary to meet whatever conditions we need to meet." Okay, so based on that comment right there, that means it sounds like they're going to do whatever it takes to hold up their end of the bargain. That's how I read it. Ken Welch was asked about the Rays situation, too. He goes, "All we need is a closer to close the game. That closer is the Rays. We are this close, and I wouldn't do anything differently," when he was asked about the events that took place. Close it out, baby.
Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only.
Well, we'll find out. Rays have 2 months, so they have some time to do whatever kind of deals that they need to do. My guess is that, and look, this talk has been out there, that maybe they're trying to sell a portion of the team to generate the revenue that they need. Look, and you can't totally rule out the fact that Stu could sell the whole kit and caboodle if he finds that this is too much to overcome, too much of a hassle to put up that kind of money. And look, I don't know if there's another ownership group. Look, I've talked to people, and I know of 2 specific groups that have been interested. So I think in a few weeks, you'll probably hear some rumblings to that effect. But right now, the Rays are on the clock. Everything is approved. It's up to them. They need to sign off on this. And if they don't, they lose the redevelopment rights. You heard Chris Latvala mention that last week. If they refuse this deal, the redevelopment rights go bye-bye, out the window. And in my opinion, they're not going to get a deal like this from anybody else. $600+ million in public money and bonds and whatnot. I don't know, man. 1 hour's in the books. By the way, I gotta address this text. Okay, we're talking about Liam Cohen and maybe getting him on the show, which I think is, going to be a non-factor or just something that's not going to happen. Look at this guy that's texting in. TKras, you and Mathis could have traveled to Jacksonville today to ask Cohen anything you wanted, like Stroud. You do know that I got a job to do between 3 and 7, right? Do you know that? Does that dawn on you at any point? That we're on the air while that press conference is going on? You freaking people. Use your heads, dude. All right, coming up. This guy's been using his head for quite a while. He's been breaking quite a few stories. There's a lot of movement happening in the NFL. We've got a Super Bowl matchup set too. So, how did all of this fall apart with the Buccaneers, and how did it come together with the Jags and Liam Cohen? What about some of the other coaching moves around the NFL? What is Dallas doing? And what are the Saints going to do, because they're the only ones left looking for a head coach? Fox NFL insider Jordan Schultz will join the show coming up next. This is The Drive.
You're locked in to The Drive with TKras.
Guys, when it comes to an injury accident, product liability, medical malpractice, Social Security disability, if you've been wronged as a result of someone else's negligence, you got to call on my guys over at Catania and Catania, the personal injury law firm that's been doing their thing the last 30 years. They don't get paid unless you get paid. When I had my injury mishap, I called them. They've got my back. They will have your back, too. They work on a contingency, which means there's no cost to you unless they win. So give them a call. Catania. Catania's where it's at. 813-222-8545. That's 813-222-8545. Or get a free evaluation of your case online at CataniaandCatania.com.
It's Monday from Plant City to Largo and all around Tampa Bay, plus worldwide on iHeartRadio.
The gloves are off. I'm playing hardball. It's 4th and 15, and you're looking at a full court press.
You're tuned into the voice of the Tampa Bay sports fan.
You're going to like this guy. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us.
Buckle up, because you're on the drive with TKras. Afternoons on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
Yeah, this has been a dream come true. As we've gone through this process, this was the only one. This was the only one that we saw, man, this could be a place that we could be here for a while, right? This is the type of place that ultimately you want to try to help and build and make it better.
Okay, that's Liam Cohen as he was introduced today up in Jacksonville as their new head coach. I feel like we can be here for a while. Is that the quote right there? Right there. That's the money quote. For like what? More than a year? 888-546-4620. Welcome back. Good afternoon, Tampa Bay. Hour number 2 on your ride home. Hope you had a great weekend. It is The Drive with yours truly, presented by Moss Nissan. You got Chris Mathis on the other side. 888-546-4620. Text at 82945 on the Bartow Ford DAE text platform. Great weekend. Super Bowl matchup is all set. It's the Chiefs against the Eagles. How do you feel about that matchup? I'm suffering from Kansas City Chiefs fatigue, I'll tell you that. But you got to hand it to them. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, they always figure out a way. And Josh Allen, unfortunately, has to go back to the drawing board. I feel for Bills fans. I know they're blaming a lot of that on the officials. I think the 4th and 1 early in the fourth quarter, I thought Josh got that first down at the 40. They were up by 1 when that occurred. That's the one you could probably point to. But you know what? And you knew that going in. I talked about this on Friday. If you're Josh Allen, you got to go in there. You got to beat Mahomes at his place, and you probably have to conquer the officials too. And the Bills had their opportunities. Defense couldn't get a big stop. That was the first time all year, regular season playoffs, where the Chiefs scored more than 30 points. They scored 30 in beating the Bucs in that Monday night game. They scored 30 against Carolina as well. This is the first time they eclipsed more than 30 points. So they move on. Unfortunately, the Bills and their fans have a lot of questions left to ponder. And look, and I thought about this last night. I brought this up in the first hour. Are the Bills going to go as far as they're going to go with Sean McDermott as their head coach? Have we reached the pinnacle? Is this the limit? And I don't know if Bills ownership is going to ask themselves that very difficult question moving forward, but I think it's a question that probably will come up because we saw here with Tony Dungy. He got that Bucs team only about as far as they were going to go. Has his Bills team gone as far as they're going to go with Sean McDermott as their head coach, or is it just a result of Josh Allen is Charles Barkley, Josh Allen is Patrick Ewing, and you got Jordan on the other side and Patrick Mahomes? It's just awful timing. Now you got a great player. Unfortunately, the guy on the other side is going to be an all-time great. We'll take more of your calls and texts coming up. A lot happening around the NFL. Super Bowl matchup is set. A lot of happenings off the field with head coaches moving around, as we know, around these parts. And with me right now, the Central Florida Behavioral Health Network, DA Hotline. Learn more at cfbhn.org. Fox Sports NFL insider and host of the weekly NFL show, Why is Draymond Green Talking About Football? Jordan Schultz is back with us here on The Drive on WDAE. Jordan, what's going on, man?
Hey, doing great. Thank you.
Thanks for being with us. I know you were all over the Liam Cohen story and how it deteriorated here in Tampa Bay, how he ended up in Jacksonville, introduced today as the new Jaguars head coach. So take us back to last week, because we heard some stories and we reported on them. You were certainly right out in front of it as to how the relationship with the Buccaneers deteriorated.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to digest with it. But, he was very content, Liam was, on remaining in Tampa Bay and working with Baker. And after he had the initial interview with the Jags, that made the decision that he wanted to stay and he would become one of the highest football, which is, $4.5 million. But then you fast forward 24 hours and Jacksonville fired Trent Baalke, and that's the game changer. He had talked a lot about the Baalke effect and how removing him from the equation, Jackson was used that job for students.
Well, listen, we got to get a better connection, Jordan. I'm sorry about that. Have Jordan call back because it was kind of hard to hear it, but definitely the chain of events that led up to this, and this is what we had talked about last week, was the fact that there was an initial interview, Buccaneers and Jason Light. This is how it was explained to me, and Jordan probably got the same information. Jason Light approached Liam Cohen and said, hey, what will it take for you to stay here? Name your price. Liam Cohen named his price, and there was no negotiation. Buck said, okay, that's what we'll do. You got it. Jordan Schultz is back with me. Hopefully the connection sounds a little bit better. Jordan, I don't know if you heard that last part. Is that how you heard it too?
Well, let me just go off what I was saying, because basically he was fine and very content staying. But as soon as that Trent Baalke fire happened, like I said, it changed the entire equation and the perception of the Jacksonville job. And as a result, you had Shad Khan in Jacksonville pushing as much as they could, bombarding Liam Cohen with what is it going to take to get you back in this building or to get you in this building. And then so that's when you had the trip to Jacksonville gets set up in secret, and he ultimately has basically a whole day of meetings. And as it was described to me, the Jags were simply not going to let him leave the building, and they were going to make Liam turn him down not once but twice. And so all of those factors are really why we're here now. And I understand the frustration of Bucs fans, but it's an opportunity for Liam Cohen to change his family's life in a way from a financial perspective and security, but also there's no guarantee that one of these jobs will come back. If you go back 3 years, I think with Byron Leftwich, he didn't want to be in the Jacksonville equation, and then he hasn't had a job since. And, because there's only 32 of these things, when you get an opportunity, especially when the iron is hot, you do want to strike, and that's what happened.
And there's no doubt, and nobody is going to blame him for advancing his career. Look, I mean, $4.5 to $5 million as opposed to what, $12, $13 million a year, whatever he's getting in Jacksonville. I think anybody would jump at that. I think it's just the chain of events and him traveling up there in secrecy, and then he called Todd Bowles at around 5:15, and he talked about his kid being sick. I just think the way he went about it is probably something that he would have back at some point, don't you think?
I wonder that as well. I think part of the reason why he did that was because he was so concerned that if it got leaked out, I'm just speculating, I'm not reporting this, but I wonder if there was real concern that if it got leaked out, that the Jacksonville thing would then be shut down, and that he was so protective of the information. And I also wonder whether or not, listen, like, it was very clear throughout this process that the Bucs valued Todd Bowles, and I think generally the perception is that it's easier to replace a defensive head coach than an offensive head coach, and this is part of the problem that the Bucs have had in this situation, and then last year as well, because they lose Liam and then they lose Dave Canales back-to-back years, and so I thought that Tampa was going to do everything possible to keep Liam, and I think they did. But I also believed that this was going to be the inevitable outcome. As soon as Trent moved on, or as soon as they moved on from Trent, this was going to be the outcome, because they were so steadfast in their commitment to Liam.
Fox Sports NFL insider Jordan Schultz is with me here on The Drive, talking all things NFL. So is Shad Khan going to allow Liam Cohen to pick his own GM now that Trent Baalke is out of the picture? Is he really going to do that for a first-time coach? Don't you think that's probably a little odd?
I think it's a little bit it might be a little odd, but it's also the perception and the promises that have been made internally that not necessarily that Liam would get to pick the GM all by himself, but that he would have autonomy within the process, and that the direction that Liam wanted to go with the GM would be, it was understood that this was the direction the franchise would need to go. In other words, if Liam's going to become the head coach, and we really believe in him that much to coax him away from Tampa, and turn down someone like a Robert Saleh, who I thought was going to get the job had the Hail Mary for Liam not worked, that Liam's going to have a big part in the hire of the GM.
I just think it's kind of strange to, and look, Shad Khan, this is what desperate organizations do. Shad Khan is looking for relevance. He's looking for credibility. For him to like trip over himself and just to open his door wide open to a guy and just say, you can take whatever you want. We're going to give you all this money. We're going to give you all this autonomy. That's a lot of pressure to put on a guy who's never done it before. So are you hearing any names associated with the GM opening up in Jacksonville? Have they begun that process yet, to your knowledge?
The name that I think is, I don't want to be too aggressive with reporting, but I think the name that has been thrown around the most, I'll say that, is Ian Cunningham from Chicago, the assistant GM. I think if I had to say who's the favorite without being, again, too aggressive, because these are always fluid processes, I would say Ian probably has as good a shot as anyone to get it. He has a relationship with Liam, and Ian has been a finalist in Tennessee. He won a Super Bowl during his tenure with the Eagles. He spent time in Baltimore, as well as learned from the Howie Rosemans and Ozzie Newsomes of the world. Very well respected. And again, when you're a finalist and you don't get a job 2 years in a row, it's like you can either become really coveted or you can miss your window. And Ian has become really coveted. And because this Jacksonville job became open late, given what they did with Trent and firing him, a few weeks after Doug, I would say he's probably the favorite.
Fox Sports NFL insider Jordan Schultz is with me. So the Bucs now have an opening at offensive coordinator. They're looking for their fourth coordinator in as many years. And this should be a highly coveted position because of all the weaponry on offense, Baker, Tristan Wirfs, all the cast and characters as well, Jordan. So are there some names that you're hearing associated with this job? I think there'll be a lot of people wanting this job because, A, the offense is stacked. Yeah. B, it's a fast track to becoming a head coach in the NFL.
Yeah, both those are really important. I know they like Marcus Brady. He's the passing game coordinator with the Chargers, pretty well respected, has obviously done a lot with Justin Herbert. The guy that it surprised me a little bit that Grant Udinski from Minnesota has gotten the type of buzz he's gotten, not because I don't like him, but because he's very young. And I think if you look at where that organization is offensively, Wes Phillips was the guy I thought would probably get more publicity or more opportunities. But Udinski interviewed in Seattle. He's 29 years old, so he might be a year or two early in the cycle. I know they like him. And then the other guy I would point to, and, I don't know how familiar Bucs are with this name, but Nate Schillhouse from the Rams is another guy that, is anybody coming from these Sean McVay pipelines, and that includes Kevin O'Connell, which in turn includes Udinski. Any of these guys seem to get a lot of excitement around the league. So those would be the three names I'd focus on. But you're absolutely right. It's a very coveted job, and it is a fast track to becoming a head coach.
100%. What's going on with the Cowboys? They settle on Brian Schottenheimer. Is Jerry Jones like at his wit's end right now? Are we getting to the point like, okay, is this guy like competent, or does he have the cognitive skills to make sound decisions for this franchise? Because it's been really bizarre what's happening down there.
Completely bizarre and yet completely expected. I don't know if he has the cognitive ability to be a GM/owner making high-level decisions because, I tweeted this out, and I'm not sure how familiar your listeners are with my account, but I put something out from an NFC executive, and I'll read you the quote from about 3 hours ago. It says, "Why are you rushing to hire Shotty when you had no other competition?" And that's a great way to put it. Their only competition for Schottenheimer was themselves. So, like, I don't know why you're not waiting for Kellen Moore. I don't know what the hurry is. And I'll say this. When they ended up keeping Mike McCarthy an extra week before they ended up firing him, they had no plan. And as a result, Jerry was unable to interview both Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson that week. And I actually believe that Jerry and the Cowboys thought Mike McCarthy would be back. And when he wasn't, this is what happens. And I reported the conversation with Dion. I thought he could be in the mix. Obviously, that wasn't meant to be. But considering the job and the stakes of the franchise, this is also why, and I say this with great respect to the organization, but this is why the Cowboys have not been relevant for 3 decades. I mean, when you operate like this, and I say that they're not playing to win. It's about eyeballs. It's about Jerry having control, and it's about Jerry being the lone wolf ultimately in the decision-making, and that's where they're at.
100%. You mentioned Mike McCarthy. He seems to be a candidate for the Saints job. It's the only one remaining. So what are you hearing about the Saints?
I'd say that's probably going to come down to Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore. They like both of them. They're very different, though. You know, McCarthy, this is a third-time potential head coach, guy who's won a Super Bowl. And Kellen Moore, you have potentially a first-time head coach who is an offensive guy and is different personality-wise. If I'm the Saints, I would rather go with Kellen Moore. I want to go with more of a young, creative thinker. And I think with Mike McCarthy, you know what you're getting. It's not the worst, but he's not the best. To me, he's an average at best NFL coach. But Kellen Moore has the potential to be a really good coach. I mean, what the job he's done with Jalen Hurts and Philly, and I know he had Saquon Barkley, and that helps a lot. But look what happened. Look how much they've improved in all areas of the offense this year. It's no coincidence. And again, Saquon's awesome, but he's been scheming really well, and he's very, very well liked. So I'd say it's a 2-horse race between Kellen Moore and Mike McCarthy, and it really comes down to what Mickey Loomis wants, because that's a GM with a lot of autonomy. Their cap is in shambles, and quite frankly, their roster is really, really bad. So that's why I like going with a younger coach who you can really build with. But we'll see.
Fox Sports NFL insider Jordan Schultz giving us some great insight here on The Drive. I'm going to keep you for another minute, Jordan. We certainly appreciate the time. So I know winning the press conference is not always indicative of, winning games as a head coach, but I was kind of blown away by Aaron Glenn's introductory press conference today with the Jets. And he mentioned Aaron Rodgers by name. So what do you think happens there between Aaron Glenn and Aaron Rodgers?
Well, I mean, Woody Johnson, the owner, said that it's going to come down to the GM and the head coach, and we'll see if that ends up happening. But I don't know what's going to happen. I'll tell you this. The perception around the league, for what it's worth, is that Aaron is not going to play for the Jets or anyone next year. Most people around the NFL don't believe Aaron Rodgers is going to play football next year. And I don't know that to be true. And anyone telling you what he's going to do is lying, because only Aaron knows. But the fact that it's going to be a collaborative process between head coach and GM is important, and it's not how it's been in the past with the Jets. So that's a good start. I thought he had a great press conference. And, in terms of Aaron Glenn, like, this is a guy who was drafted there in 97, was an All-Pro, and became a scout with the Jets, and then worked his way up the coaching ladder in Detroit, and now comes home essentially with New York. So I really like the hire. The hire that surprised some was the GM and Darren Mucci, who's very young and very inexperienced, but had a glowing recommendation from Sean Payton and George Payton specifically in Denver, and that's a big reason why he's got the job. So if I'm a Jet fan, I would say I'm cautiously optimistic, but I would be surprised just based on what we know if Aaron played next year, and I would imagine that decision gets made in the next month or so, but that's another one where it could take more time. I just don't know.
All right, I'll get you out on this. Super Bowl matchup is set. Chiefs, Eagles, rematch from a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Mahomes did it again. He always finds a way to do it again. Josh Allen, unfortunately, the Bills, I mean, they got a lot of questions to answer. And your overall thoughts on this matchup heading into New Orleans in 2 weeks?
I think it's a great matchup. I feel badly for Josh. I heard what you were saying before. In many ways, it's he's kind of like the bridesmaid or the Phil Mickelson to Tiger. This great player, but paired next to this iconic, once in a lifetime player. It's just remarkable that Mahomes, put it this way, he's been an NFL starter for 7 seasons. The worst finish of Pat's career is losing in the AFC Championship 2 times, both in overtime. In the other 5 years, he's made the Super Bowl, obviously won 3. So it's a remarkable dynasty. I don't think there's a better offensive and defensive line in football than the Eagles. But I also believe that the Chiefs are the better team, and they were my preseason pick, and I got to stick with it. But I'll tell you what, if the Eagles are able to generate that type of pass rush that we've seen, which is the reason they're number 1 defense in the league, that's their formula. Jalen Carter has been a one-man wrecking ball, and if they're an Eagles fan, that's like the guy you have to bank on having a big game.
And the Eagles' passing game showed up in a very big way. I didn't expect that. We saw that. And if they can carry that over into New Orleans, yeah, I'd give them a puncher's chances. If you can throw it the ball the way Jalen Hurts did to complement that running game, I think it could be a heck of a game. All right.
Yeah, and Hurts' best game probably ever was in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
He made one mistake, but I think the best game he ever played was the loss to Kansas City. So, the moment won't be too big, and obviously it's a great matchup. It really is.
It sure is. All right, Fox Sports NFL insider Jordan Schultz, he's all over it. He's host of the weekly NFL show, Why is Draymond Green Talking About Football? Jordan, we appreciate we appreciate a few minutes, man. We'll talk to you soon.
My pleasure. All right, take care.
You got it. That's Jordan Schultz. It's great stuff there. All right. So it sounds like, and look, the Buccaneers are going to talk to a lot of different people, right? And Rick Stroud will be with us in the 5 o'clock hour, and he's hearing some names as well. But, you heard some names there from Jordan, like that Sean McVay coaching tree, and that's where Liam Cohen came from. It just seems logical for the Buccaneers to go back down that road. Grant Udinsky, the guy from the Vikings, he works under Kevin O'Connell, who worked under Sean McVay. Nate Shieldhouse is the guy from the Rams, obviously, Sean McVay. And this was a form of the Sean McVay, that Rams offense that we saw here that Liam Cohen ran with the Buccaneers for the most part. So it seems like that's the direction that the Buccaneers are headed in. They're talking to some guys outside of the building, and they've got some guys in-house as well. Josh Grizzard is a very interesting guy. Buccaneers passing game coordinator. 3rd down was his general focus of attention, and the Bucs are really good on 3rd down. So he's the in-house guy. I know Thad Lewis is another guy, but Josh Grizzard is a guy to keep an eye on in terms of in-house candidates. 888-546-4620. Text at 82945. All right, we got a big announcement coming up at 5 o'clock regarding this show. No, we're not going off the air as some of you are hoping.
I'm not leaving.
You can take that off the table because that's not happening, but it's a big announcement nonetheless. So that's coming up at 5 o'clock, and then shortly after at around 5:05 to 5:10, Rick Stroud, Tampa Bay Times, TampaBay.com. He's up in Jacksonville for the Liam Cohen introductory presser. How did that go? We're going to get into that too. The Super Bowl matchup is all set. And what about this GOAT conversation that is taking place after last night's game? Hold your horses. I'll tell you why coming up next.
You're locked in to The Drive with TKras.
Boy, I had so much fun, Chris Mathis, riding around over the weekend in that 2025 Nissan Murano. Brad Meredith came to me Friday over at Newport Richie. He's like, hey, man, new Murano, drive it around, test it out. I'm telling you, I really like this car. Really like this Murano. It is fantastic and just one of the many great vehicles on display over at Moss Nissan, where their goal is to never lose your business over price. Chris Mathis also alongside. If you're looking for a new or pre-owned vehicle in the new year, may we recommend Moss Nissan? Even with credit card debt or holiday hangovers, they've got the cure.
And here's why. It's as easy as this at Moss Nissan. No money down, plus no payments are due until the spring.
Without question. I bought my last 2 vehicles over at Moss Nissan, and there could be another one, too, coming. MossCare, you get that with every purchase. That's lifetime oil changes and tire rotations for as long as you own the vehicle.
You're going to get all of that and so much more, including the largest Nissan inventory to choose from in Tampa Bay.
Well, right, you are, Mr. May Offer. They got 3 convenient locations to choose from: Tampa, Newport Richey, or Brooksville, or online.
whether if it's putting his body on the line or giving it to somebody else for them to do it. That's why he's the ultimate competitor.
That is Travis Kelce, Mr. Taylor Swift, talking about his quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. Just another tremendous performance out of Mahomes and the Chiefs and Andy Reid. That certainly counts as well. Patrick Mahomes now 89-23 as a record. And in the postseason, I mean, he's been fantastic. The Chiefs have won their last 9 postseason games. Again, a winner last night over the Bills. And I feel bad, man, for the Bills. Josh Allen, what a competitor. Great kid, great player. His main problem is he's living in the same era as Patrick Mahomes. And that is Lamar Jackson's problem too. Lamar Jackson can't beat Mahomes. And Josh Allen has never beaten Mahomes in the postseason. He's 0-4. And now you got the talk about Mahomes, Brady. That talk is now starting to get more steam, and you're going to hear a lot about it over the next 2 weeks leading up to New Orleans for Super Bowl 59. And I would just say, let's hold off on that for now. What Patrick Mahomes has done is great. And if he achieves a three-peat, maybe he gets a little bit closer. Now, Brady never did the three-peat thing. So being able to three-peat in this era with free agency and everything else that goes along and so much volatility, so much, transition taking place around the league with a lot of coaches, as we just saw with Liam Cohen, moving on, players moving on. I think it's a fair question, but I'm just not going to go out on a limb and say Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT. With that victory yesterday, he's got 17 wins in the postseason. It's pretty cool. Tom Brady, by the way, 35. You're halfway to Brady. And Brady's got the 7 rings, too. So I don't think Patrick Mahomes is there. But if he wins and gets a three-peat, he's got to put a couple of more trophies in his little case there, in his showcase. And if he does, then I think we can revisit this conversation. But I don't think it's a conversation right here, right now. And look, Brady won a couple like in his 40s. So you also have to take that into consideration too. Now, Patrick Mahomes is only 29. I mean, he takes care of himself. He's probably going to play at least another 10 years. Can he get to 7? He's got a shot to do so. But until he gets to 7 and see how his career goes over the next 10 years, I'm not ready to put him over Tom Brady right here, right now. 888-546-4620.
So what's the question?
The question here, Tommy Boy, is Mr. Double Standard yourself. Are you hearing that talk? And I got to say this too. And as much respect I have for Tom Brady, I still believe he is the GOAT, even though a lot of people are prisoners of the moment right now, putting Patrick Mahomes on that pedestal over Brady. I'm just saying, hold your horses on that. I don't think we're there. I'm listening and watching the game yesterday. Tom Brady doesn't do it for me, man, when it comes to being an analyst on TV. I just think that he is trying to be what everyone wants him to be instead of him trying to be himself in doing this job. That plus the conflict of interest thing is going to lead everyone to believe, or lead me to believe, not everybody. A couple of people agree, but we'll see how it goes. But could the Super Bowl be his last broadcast? I think there's a really good chance that answer is yes. He can't continue to do both. And now you got Pete Carroll. I mean, he had a hand in that. He obviously had a hand in John Spytek going from the Buccaneers as an assistant GM to the GM of the Raiders, and they hired Pete Carroll. So that was a really good hire in terms of getting Pete Carroll there in that division with those other heavyweights in that division. That was a good move by Tommy Boy. But how long can you continue this charade of doing both? I don't think you can. I don't think you can. But he'll be in New Orleans in 2 weeks. He's calling the game. Fox has got the game. So that should be a really interesting dynamic for sure. And whatever happens after that, that's going to be up to the league. If they see that, there is some friction or a conflict of interest, which absolutely there is, then you're going to have to make a decision. And maybe who's going to have the guts to approach Tom Brady and say, you know what, this is not working too well here. You're part owner and you're also the broadcaster. You got to pick one or the other. Is Roger Goodell going to do that? I'm not sure. Somebody might. I think the other owners might make a case out of that, but that would probably take place during the owners' meetings coming up in the spring. But right now we have the Chiefs on one side. You got the Eagles on the other. Mahomes against Jalen Hurts, a rematch of the Super Bowl from a couple of years ago, which the Eagles came close to winning, and I thought Hurts outplayed Mahomes in that Super Bowl. So I'm sure Patrick Mahomes is going to be hearing that talk over the next 2 weeks, and Jalen Hurts is probably going to be telling himself over the next 2 weeks that, hey, we almost had these guys last time. This time, we've got something that we didn't have 2 years ago. It's not something, it's someone. And that someone is Saquon Barkley, who could be the big difference maker in this game, because the impact that he's had with the Eagles is beyond anything that anyone could have ever imagined. 55 points put up by the Eagles yesterday. I don't think anybody saw that coming. 7 rushing touchdowns, really? But more importantly, Hurts looked healthy. He threw the ball down the field with some accuracy. They got A.J. Brown involved. A.J. Brown was working Marshawn Lattimore early in the game, and he worked the other side, Mike Sanders, still later in the game. Caught a touchdown against him. But if the Eagles throw the ball in that manner against the Chiefs, then I think they're going to beat the Chiefs. I do. I think pound for pound, do they have more talent? I think the answer is probably yes. I think the Eagles probably have more talent, pound for pound. Their head coach is a little loopy. By the way, okay, what is Nick Sirianni doing? It's like every week this guy does something out of the ordinary. He does something, and I'm just trying to figure out, like, why is he doing what he's doing? Is he trying to be different? Like him showing up in the press conference with a jersey on, he looks like some schmuck from, Section 243 at the podium wearing a jersey. Are you the head coach or are you a fan? You got to pick one or the other. Just a weird dynamic going on there. Weird. And when it comes to coaching, like pound for pound, man for man, I think the Eagles probably have more talent than the Chiefs, but I think the coaching advantage is weighed heavily on the Chiefs side with Andy Reid and, of course, Steve Spagnuolo against Nick Sirianni and company. Although Vic Fangio's an outstanding defensive coordinator, and Kellen Moore, you heard Jordan Schultz talk about him, really good offensive coordinator, but I think they fall short. If you're matching up the two coaching staffs, I think the edge would have to go to Kansas City. All right, more of your calls and texts coming up. Also, looking back at the weekend, we've got the good, the bad, and the ugly coming up at 5:30. There was some good with the Lightning over the weekend. There was some bad, too. And we're going to get into both coming up next here on The Drive.
You're tuned in to The Drive with TKras.
We are into 2025, ladies and gentlemen. And, of course, if you're looking to pop the big question, or, listen, if you're looking for something very special for that very special someone in your life, may we recommend heading on over to the Gold and Diamond Source, because that's where it's at over for the new year. Steve and Julie Weintraub, they've been doing this for 40 years. They're waiting to service you, and you can surprise her, meaning your better half, with a timeless diamond from our friends over at the Gold and Diamond Source. You can kick off the new year by doing that. If you're ready to pop the big question, Chris Mathis he went to the Gold and Diamond Source and he found the perfect engagement ring. He got engaged. He showed it to Lily and she said, "It is fantastic. I say yes. You got it to Gold and Diamond Source. That's a double yes." It was a double yes. So congratulations to Mathis and Lily for getting engaged, and you could do the same too. If her birthday falls in the month of January or your second or sixth wedding anniversaries, you can make that unforgettable with up to 50% off the January birthstone, which happens to be garnet. And while you're there, discover Emilique. It is a creation by Emily Johnson Weintraub, a sleek and modern jewelry line that makes everyday gifts extraordinary. And guys, turn old, unused gold into cold, hard cash or a stunning new piece. With gold prices soaring, there's no better time to trade up than right now at the Gold and Diamond Source. So check them out, 3800 Omerton Road.
Feeling like a Super Bowl champion 24/7 when used daily. But don't wait. This dynamic duo is available at Costco for a limited time only. Old Spice, official deodorant partner of the NFL and Super Bowl 59, where freshness meets football greatness.
Impact windows from Reese Windows and Doors are installed in just 6 to 8 weeks. Visit reesewindows.com.
Now, back to the Drive with TKras on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
We lost 3 or 4, and that's unacceptable. Now, I go back and rewind how we played. And it's, there's a couple games you can look there and sit here and little awestruck that we didn't get any points out of. But the bottom line is we didn't get points. And so, the opponent's doing something that's just a little bit better than us, and we're going to have to figure that out.
John Cooper and the Lightning really struggling on the road. They had another dreaded back-to-back. Friday night, good. See that? In Chicago, Blackhawks, they were down. They tied the game at 3. They were down 3-2 in the final minute. Jake Gensel scored on the man advantage to tie the game. And then Kucherov won it in overtime with a goal. Fantastic. It was a 3-point night for Kuch.
Good for Kucherov!
It was good for Kucherov. It was good for Gensel, too. So that was big. And then, look, the next night, they just didn't have anything left in the tank. And that's what's been happening. Like, back-to-back on the roads, it really doesn't suit this team well at all. And they were shut out by the Red Wings 2-0 on Saturday. Now, they will get the Blackhawks again at home. That will be their next game. And hopefully the Lightning can, use some home cooking to their advantage. That game is tomorrow night, by the way. Blackhawks are in town to take on your Lightning. But right now, 55 points. The Lightning find themselves because of this road trip where they lost 3 out of 4. The win, in Chicago on Friday night, that was their only win on this trip. And that was a big win, but the other games, not so much. And now the Lightning find themselves with 55 points. Boston and Ottawa in front of them. They're 1 point better. And then you got Florida at 61 and then Toronto at 62 atop the Atlantic Division. But, hey, I think coming back home is certainly going to serve this team a lot better. But just these road woes, man. And, some of these games, they don't get off to good starts. The good news is that you're coming back home. You got a 5-game homestand, which starts tomorrow. So I think you got to win at least 3 of these 5 games. Blackhawks, then you got the Kings, and then the Islanders, and then, Ottawa. So I think the Lightning probably need to stack some wins at home here. But, yeah, the Red Wings game was not a great game to watch on Saturday. They get shut out because they kind of emptied the tank in coming back in Chicago on Friday night. 888-546-4620. All right, 2 hours are in the books. Coming up, a very big announcement here on this program. It is coming up next, and then we'll go up to Jacksonville. Rick Stroud, Tampa Bay Times at TampaBay.com. He's standing by right after the announcement. We'll talk to him. Liam Cohen, introduced as the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. What did he have to say about how he parted ways with the Buccaneers? Big announcement. Rick Stroud coming up next here on The Drive. Don't you dare move.
You're locked in to The Drive with TKras.
Guys, you know how much of a bourbon enthusiast I am, and if you're looking for a new bourbon in the new year, may I recommend the Chattanooga Whiskey. The 91 is fantastic. It's the award winner. The Bottled in Bond is great too. And I forgot to go back in the back because Shannon Gibson's got my stuff, my gifts from Chattanooga Whiskey. I don't know if she's still back there, but Chattanooga Whiskey is awesome. The Chattanooga Whiskey 91, it's kind of a lighter bodied bourbon. You can mix it with an old fashioned. It's fantastic. I did that with some peeps that came over. They absolutely loved it. It's a Tennessee high malt version, and it's made from 4 grains, including 3 select specialty malts. It is outstanding. The 111, heavier body. You don't mix that with anything. With a little bit of ice, or have it neat with a cigar, that's perfect. The Chattanooga Whiskey 111 is more of a full-body bourbon. It is outstanding. The bottled in bond is just extraordinary, as smooth as it gets. Made in Chattanooga, Tennessee, from roasted and toasted grains. Chattanooga Whiskey, guess what? It's a dark chocolate against every other bourbon's milk chocolate. It's the best sipping whiskey from Tennessee. I highly approve, and you will as well. So check it out. Ask for it today at your local bar.
Bay, plus worldwide on iHeartRadio.
The gloves are off. I'm playing hardball. It's 4th and 15, and you're looking at a full court press.
You're tuned into the voice of the Tampa Bay sports fan.
You're gonna like this guy. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us.
Buckle up, because you're on the drive with TKras. Afternoons on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
Good afternoon, Tampa Bay. Welcome back. Hour number 3. It is 5:03 on your ride home on this beautiful Monday across the bay. It is The Drive presented by Moss Nissan. Your guy, Tom Krasnicki here. Chris Mathis on the other side. And, of course, you there on the phones, 888-546-4620. Text at 82945. We're with you until 7 o'clock. Coming up in about 5 minutes, Rick Stroud, Tampa Bay Times at tampabay.com. He will join us. He's up in Jacksonville, where today Liam Cohen was officially introduced as the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, what did Liam Cohen have to say about his departure here from Tampa Bay? We'll get the lowdown with Rick Stroud coming up in about 5 minutes. And then at 5:30, the good, the bad, and the ugly from what we saw over the weekend. I'll give you mine. You can give me yours. You can call in. You can text in. I'm sure Chris Mathis will also chime in on that. And we had a great NFL conversation in the last hour. In case you're just getting in your car, hope you had a great day. Sounds like somebody had a case of the Mondays. Remember that from Office Space? Maybe you had that case, but guess what? The day is over. You can now relax on your ride home here on The Drive. And Jordan Schultz, NFL insider, he had a lot to say about Liam Cohen leaving Tampa Bay for Jacksonville, as well as possible offensive coordinator candidates and other head coaching news from around the NFL. We'll get with Jordan Schultz, and he has thoughts as well on the Super Bowl matchup being all set for 2 weeks in New Orleans. It's the Chiefs going for an unprecedented three-peat in the Super Bowl era against the Philadelphia Eagles. Chiefs and the Eagles in 2 weeks. So the matchup is all set for New Orleans and Super Bowl 59. To that point, we have a special announcement right here on this program. Rick Stroud will join us in a couple of minutes. When the Super Bowl sets up shop next week on Radio Row in New Orleans, The Drive will be there. We are headed to the Super Bowl, folks, and we'll be doing our shows all of next week from Radio Row, the site of Super Bowl 59. Really excited to be a part of it. Can't wait to get out there. Yours truly is going. Nick Wise is also tagging along. Chris Mathis has got to stay back and, of course, handle the shop while we are gone. So we're going to have a great week of shows next week. We're going to have a lot of big star-studded guest list, lined up for you for next week over at the Super Bowl. So can't wait. Monday through Friday. It is exciting, Coach. The Drive will be live from Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans next week. So there you have it, folks.
Boom. Hey, Tom,
546-4620.
Is this the first time you're getting to go out to Radio Row? At least with DAE. When's the last time you went?
I've been a part of Radio Row, never with DAE. I've been here almost 13 years.
Wow. How about that?
There's been some talk the last several years, but it never materialized for whatever reason. The last time, not the last time, because the Super Bowl was here in 2020, obviously during the pandemic, and I thought we got robbed of the entire Super Bowl experience and the effect. Ronnie and I were on Radio Row that week from the Tampa Convention Center, and nobody was there because of the pandemic. So we didn't have the full force effect of the Super Bowl, and Radio Row and all the benefits that come with hosting a Super Bowl. I hope the NFL can see that and maybe get us another Super Bowl at some point down the road. I mean, the outdoor game is coming here. The national championship game's coming here. Florida, Georgia's coming here in a couple of years. Tampa has hosted some big-time events, and I'm hoping a few years down the road we can get another Super Bowl back in our town to make up for, I don't want to call it the half-ass Super Bowl, but we fully didn't benefit from the Super Bowl because of the pandemic from a couple of years ago. But the Cardinals-Steelers Super Bowl, that was here, 2009?
09, Santonio Holmes.
Santonio Holmes in the corner of the end zone.
Oh, man.
I did Radio Row at the Tampa Convention Center that entire week. That was an extraordinary week. I remember Aaron Rodgers was the Packers quarterback at the time. He took over for Brett Favre that year. I remember that was an interesting interview. I had Aaron Rodgers on that week. I was at another radio station across town. And there were a number of other guests. Brady Quinn, I think I had that week. I might have had Rodney Barber that week. I'm trying to remember. But there were several guests, and it was incredible. And you get to rub elbows with all these great celebrities and football players and NFL stars of today and yesteryear. So we're looking forward to it. The Drive live from Super Bowl 59 on Radio Row all of next week.
And could you imagine you and Mike Florio in person, doing the usual wrestling jokes and things of that nature and getting a video out there for all of Tampa Bay to see? That would be awesome.
I hope that happens, and I'm going to try and make it happen next week. So it should be great. And between now and maybe this week, full disclosure, I've never been to New Orleans. This is my first trek into New Orleans. I know there are some bad parts of town, and there's also a lot of fun things about New Orleans and the French Quarter and Bourbon Street. Great food, great restaurants. I love jazz music. So I just want to go somewhere one night where I can just sit there with a nice beverage and listen to some jazz music. I remember when I went to Nashville a couple of years ago, there was that place right off Broadway, the Skulls Room, I think it's called. Incredible. There was jazz music being played. I had the video on my phone, and I was just sitting there for about a good hour just listening to jazz music. That's what I want. So if you guys have any recommendations, feel free to text them in. You can call in throughout the course of this week, and I will happily take your recommendations.
Preservation Hall, a place you got to check out for some jazz music in New Orleans.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. No phones allowed, man. You just sit back, you have a drink, a cigar. It's awesome.
Well, were you there? Or
yeah, I went there when I was 21. Yeah, I did.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I did.
Are you serious, Clark?
Listen to some jazz, man.
All right, Preservation Hall.
I'm an old soul, Tom. You might be surprised.
I'm surprised by a lot of things that you do. All right, so there you have it. We're headed to the Super Bowl next week. Really exciting time. The Buccaneers are looking for a new offensive coordinator. And the story will continue to develop over the course of this week and the next week. And, oh, by the way, Liam Cohen, the guy who used to have that job, was introduced today up in Jacksonville. So what did he have to say about his time here in Tampa Bay? Let's go up to Jacksonville. He's with us right now on the Central Florida Behavioral Health Network, the A Hotline. Learn more at cfbhn.org. Rick Stroud, Tampa Bay Times at tampabay.com. He is up in Duval, which, by the way, is annoying. Rick, you're not annoying. How are you, buddy?
Thought you guys changed the format to jazz for a second. What the hell's going on?
You never know around these parts, Rick. I mean, radio could be quite volatile. So,
yes, you can.
How are you, buddy?
Doing well. Always enjoy the drive up. Some 3.5 hours through the country roads. But, yeah, everything's good.
All right, so you were at the Liam Cohen introductory press conference. They let you in. So just give me the whole vibe as to how it all went down and what he had to say about his departure here from Tampa Bay and everything else.
Yeah, on the podium, he had very little to say other than, he thanked, obviously, all the coaches that he's worked for, and there's been a number of them, right? He's been in 5 different spots in the last 5 years. But, going back to, UMass and all of that, of course, his dad was his biggest influence as a coach. But, listen, he handled the press conference as well as a young coach can do, right? He was focused. He sounded like he had a plan, and was humbled by the opportunity. And that's what this is. I mean, he wasn't that contrite, at least on the podium, about, how things transpired. There were no details given. I didn't get a question that I was able to ask on the podium. But I was grateful for that because afterward, he and I had a chance to talk, and you'll have to read the Tampa Bay Times to get that later today. But I would just say this, that, he is, he's conflicted. Like he is disappointed, I think, the way things ended. By the same token, as many people have said, I know you've said it and others, this is a man's dream, right? And it's kind of right there, right? It's right in front of him. And so, when you're faced with that, that becomes kind of your focus. And I think, in fact, I'm sure he would like to have done things a little differently. But look, he's one of 32 head coaches in the National Football League, and he's 39 years old. And he gets to live in Florida and try to resurrect Trevor Lawrence, So things could be worse. And, I think he would have loved to continue coaching Baker and those guys. But this one came along, and he jumped at it, and rightfully so.
Yeah, they're going to more than double his pay. And Rick, I'm really surprised. And look, this is what desperate organizations do in Shad Khan. I mean, they will do anything in order to get that sort of credibility that they think they're looking for. And, for Jacksonville to open up their entire organization and their checkbook for a guy who's never been a head coach before, are you surprised by the way Jacksonville just kind of went all out to get Liam Cohen to be their head coach?
I am. And it may pay off for them, or it may not. But I think, the unusual thing that you just mentioned is just that. And even Liam is stunned by it. And that's part of the reason, not the final reason, but part of the reason I think he took this was, look, he has a chance to influence who they bring in as general manager. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Sean McVay didn't do that, right? Les Snead was there. Only Kyle Shanahan, who more or less hooked himself up and hired John Lynch, in essence, has been able to do that in the NFL. So, I mean, are you kidding me? Like, not only do you get to be a head coach, but you can team up with somebody. So, I think that's rare. Certainly was, a big bonus for him. And, just another reason why he couldn't turn him down.
Rick Stroud, Tampa Bay Times. You can read him at TampaBay.com. He's up in Jacksonville, where Liam Cohen was introduced today as the new head coach of the Jaguars. Rick had some side time with Liam Cohen, and that article is coming up at TampaBay.com. And, Rick, I know you can't divulge too much, but you kind of hinted at maybe some regret as to how Liam Cohen went about the whole chain of events, secretly going up to Jacksonville, and then he calls Todd Bowles at around 5 o'clock last Thursday, talking about his kid being the reason why, like, he ghosted them, and then he kind of lied to them about where he was because he was up in Jacksonville hammering out that deal. Does he feel a little bit of regret?
Well, I think he wishes it would have been cleaner, for sure. And I believe that, things transpired pretty quickly after he got back into it. Now, he was asked during the press conference if, the firing of the GM up here, Trent Baalke, is what really, made him reconsider. And we'd be naive to think that it didn't. I think what it did was get other people from Jacksonville involved and say, hey, now that we've removed Trent, if he's been the impediment, let's go back after some guys, including Liam, and of course, at that point, like I just said, not many coaches. In fact, I think only Shanahan gets that opportunity to come, and then they hire the GM. So just another reason why he looked at this situation. And the other thing is too and I think you've probably talked about this, but in the NFL, there's no guarantees. And there's no guarantees in life. Hell, I might not make it back today. God willing, I will. But at the end of the day, it's like, what if Liam takes the job, stays in Tampa? And I think he would have been fine with that. He loves coaching Baker. He loves coaching those guys. They love him, obviously. But if, Baker slips on a banana peel and he can't play, and they go 4-13, and he didn't get any more head coaching opportunities, and Bowles is fired. You can't predict things. You can only deal with what's right in front of them. And I think this was one that was just sitting there. time has a way of healing things, and I think he's hopeful. I think others are hopeful that that will happen. With the Buccaneers organization, and look, I don't think, much like us, I don't think anybody, when they really look at it as players or anybody else, would begrudge him this opportunity. This is a lifetime dream, and so he took it.
Absolutely. And look, I don't think anybody is going to blame him for doing that, for advancing your career. Listen, that's what this country's all about. I just think the way he went about doing it is probably going to ruffle some feathers. It did ruffle some feathers, and I'm sure the Buccaneers were upset for about 24 to 48 hours, but I think the Buccaneers are past that. I'm going to ask you about them in a matter of moments. But one last thing on Liam, a young guy, 39 years old. Now he's the head coach. He also said during the presser that he's going to call plays. He's got Trevor Lawrence to work with. And just as important, Rick, is this guy, I guess, having significant input is in having the GM come aboard, but he needs to surround himself with some really good coaches, too. Did he, intimate what his coaching staff's going to look like?
No, he didn't hit it that, although that's job one. Obviously, he's got to be on the phone 24/7 trying to build a staff, as are a lot of teams, including the Bucs have some openings, not just the least of which is offensive coordinator. They also got to find a defensive line coach with Casey Rogers moving on to Detroit. That is, I assure you, what he's doing, spending the most time with right now. And you're right. I think the staff is so important. I think what the Bucs did, not just with Liam, but with Kevin Carberry and some of the other coaches they brought in on offense, is really the reason why they had so much success. So he understands that. He's not been in the league forever, but he certainly has plenty of coaching associations, and we'll see who he brings. If anybody from Tampa, he could easily, even though he's going to call the plays, he could name somebody an offensive coordinator, and I don't think the Bucs could stop him from coming. So I think there's probably, likely a chance that somebody comes from Tampa to Jacksonville, but we'll just have to see. I mean, obviously Dave Canales brought some coaches with him. Not so sure that the Bucs wanted those guys back, but certainly everybody on the staff, I think right now, the Bucs would like to have back, and we'll see who he can bring. But, that's the job. I mean, and look, as good as he is an offensive coordinator, he's not prepared. No one's prepared to be a first-time head coach in the NFL until you do it, right, until you do the job. And it's going to distract from him and the preparation he's done all his life as a play caller and game planning. His time is going to be greatly infringed upon with the media and everything else, and just the problems that players have that nobody knows about. So there'll be a growing period here. But he's ready to take it on. And like I said, a lot of people win the press conference, so that doesn't really count for much. But I think he's probably as prepared as he can be with 1 year in the NFL calling plays.
Rick Stroud is up in Jacksonville. You can read him at TampaBay.com. And you also have the story on the Bucs moving on from Liam Cohen, and they've already begun the process of interviewing candidates for the vacant offensive coordinator job. So what can you tell us about that?
Well, I think they're committed to the process like they've had the last couple of years. It would be easy perhaps to just take somebody within the staff for continuity's sakes. And certainly there's some guys that I've listed in that story that, including Kevin Carberry. I mean, maybe they say, okay, we'll turn it over to you. Now, I don't know their ability to call plays. I'm not sure anybody has on the staff right now, but at least you'd have a continuity within the offense. But look, unlike the previous two times, 2 years ago when they ended up hiring Dave Canales, they couldn't get anybody that wanted the job. I mean, their only quarterback on a contract was Kyle Trask. I think, some people looked at Todd Bowles as a lame duck coach. And, they ended up with Dave Canales, who did a good job but hadn't called plays since Carson High School in 2005. So, he goes on astoundingly to coach the Carolina Panthers, and they get a better guy because of what Baker was able to do. They re-signed Baker. They re-signed Mike, and you got some pieces, a good draft. And then, Cohen knocks it out of the park, and he gets a head coaching job. Well, like you and I have talked about, if I'm wanting to be a coordinator in this league, and I want to be a head coach. These guys are 2 for 2.
Right.
So I want to be the third guy. And oh, by the way, I know I got talent, right? Like I know I got talent on the offensive line. I know these guys can run the ball with Bucky Irving. I know I got a young receiver in Jalen McMillan and a guy that's still productive in Mike Evans and a good tight end. And, so I don't think they're going to have any trouble attracting talent this time. I think they're probably getting more calls and resumes than they know what to do with. But I do think that, there is an urgency to the situation. You'd like to have somebody from a similar system, like the Rams, for example, and you'd like to get those guys hired quickly before these other staffs start to form.
And that is going to be big. And you mentioned the Sean McVay coaching tree, and it sounds like the Buccaneers would like to go in that direction. In terms of the in-house candidates, Rick, how concerned are the Bucs? And you touched on it before that, Liam Cohen might pilfer a couple of these guys and take them with them to Jacksonville.
Well, you can only take so many, right? You can only take one as a coordinator. Possibly on defense, he could do that as well if somebody's a position coach. I don't think you can block a guy from advancing to the coordinator spot. But, certainly that's a concern. They like their coaching staff. There's change every year. They made a lot of changes on offense a year ago. That's how they got Liam. That's how they got Carberry. That's how they got their receivers, because all those guys. So, it worked out, right? And so the job is for Jason Light and Todd Bowles to go find those guys and replace the ones that you might lose. But I do think they like their coaching staff as it exists right now. They'll try to hang on to as many as they can. Maybe that means, even though he may still call plays, maybe that means naming one of those coaches on defense, like Larry Foote, defensive coordinator, right? Larry was offered a chance to stay with the Bucs. He did take an interview in Detroit, didn't get that job as a DC. So we'll see, if they're able to bring him back.
Wow, somebody texted in. I don't think this is going to happen, but Tom Moore, I know, is coming back for another year.
He is.
Yes, so I don't think he's going to be up for the offensive coordinator job, is he, Rick? Or somebody just texted?
No, look, Tom is a great asset, and he's a consultant. Not necessarily the coach, but he has a lot to do with, with their success and coaching the coaches, if you will, as much as anything. Of course, we know he met with Bucky Irving at 5 every morning, which is a great relationship. But no, they'll have an offensive coordinator. He won't be 86 years old, but they'll have a guy.
Slightly younger, huh?
Yeah, and let me tell you now, Tom will be a great resource for that guy. All he has to do is read his book, and he'll be fine.
Absolutely. It's a great book, and, we had him on, and obviously you collaborate with Tom Moore on that book, and he's going to continue showing up to work, Rick, until they carry him out boots first, right?
That's what he wants. He says they're going to take me out boots first. I don't want to be there when that happens, but you know what? God bless him. He's lived a great life, and that's what he wants to do. He doesn't want to do anything else, so they're going to let him keep doing it, which is great.
All right, real quick, I want to get your thoughts. Chiefs versus the Eagles in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks in New Orleans. Thankfully, we'll be there next week on Radio Row, but your overall thoughts, are you suffering from Chiefs fatigue like a lot of us are?
Yeah, I think most of the nation is, except my 15-year-old daughter who can't get enough of, Kelsey and Taylor Swift. So, that is what it is. And I think, there's a lot of off-the-field stuff that comes with those guys, the Kelsey podcast and all the commercials with Andy Reid and, State Farm and all of that. But, listen, they're an unbelievable franchise. They're on a run that no one's seen before. If they can win 3 in a row, they're an absolute dynasty. And they're going to be hard to beat. Although, Philly has been so explosive in the run game. They don't make a ton of plays down the field, although Hurts had a good day the other day. But, you're going to have to control the ball on these guys, and they just don't make mistakes. You can't make mistakes. I think that's the one thing that these playoffs have shown, that those teams that are clean and take advantage of turnovers instead of turning it over, they've all won the games. And for that reason, I think Kansas City's more experienced in protecting the football, and it'd be hard to go against them with how well they played in the big games.
All right, he's Rick Stroud. He's up in Jacksonville. His one-on-one with Liam Cohen. He talked to him after the presser. That'll be up at TampaBay.com later on. Rick, we appreciate it. If you're headed to the Super Bowl next week, stop on by. We're going to be there.
Will do, and it would have been up 10 minutes earlier, but I had to do this for you, so you're welcome.
You are
carry me up boots first.
There you go. There's your boy, Tom Moore, right there.
There you go. I'll see you, man.
Thanks, Rick. You got it. Oh, my gosh. I'm telling you, that sit-down I had with Tom Moore is, everyone keeps asking me, like, favorite interviews, best interviews, whatever. That interview with Tom Moore, for me, in my career, is right near the top. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. And Chris Mathis, we're going to get him back on the show, too.
We need to.
He's extraordinary.
We need more time.
We do. It was great, and I learned an awful lot, and he's very entertaining. He's got so many stories, and at the age of 86, he'll be back for another year with the Buccaneers next year as a senior offensive assistant. That is incredible. All right, 888-546-4620. Your calls and texts coming up. Jordan Schultz also coming up at 6:05. When we come back, a lot happening over the weekend. Some good, some bad, some downright ugliness, too. The good, the bad, and the ugly is next.
You're tuned in to The Drive with TKras.
It is The Drive presented by our guys over at Moss Nissan, where their goal is to never lose your business over price. We were there. We did our Football Friday show up in Newport Richie. It was awesome. And Brad Meredith came up to me and said, hey, he threw me the keys to the 2025 Murano, and I'm like, well, what do I look like, a valet? I'm like, no, I'm not giving you the keys to park my car. He goes, this is the 2025 Murano. Drive it around this weekend. Tell me what you think. And let me tell you, man, I drove it around, and it is splendid. What an incredible ride. It's got the beautiful moonroof. It's got the interior light designs, which is fantastic. Just a smooth ride. So if the Murano's what you're looking for, luxury SUV with plenty of room for a guy like me, or the Armada, something bigger. I got the Pathfinder too, the Rogue. Whatever you're looking for, Moss Nissan has it. If you're looking to get behind the wheel of a new or pre-owned vehicle after the holidays, credit card debt have you down, don't worry about it. They've got the cure.
And Moss Nissan is offering no money down right now, plus no payments are due until the spring.
I bought my last two vehicles over at Moss Nissan. I love their sales department as well as their service department. They are top-notch, and with every purchase, you'll get Moss Care. Lifetime oil changes and tire rotations. That's a beautiful thing.
And, Tom, they also offer the largest Nissan inventory in Tampa Bay as well for you guys to make your pick from.
Absolutely. 3 convenient locations to choose from: Tampa, Newport Richie, and Brooksville. Also online at
and sit back, because you're on The Drive with TKras. Presented by Moss Nissan on WDAE.
If you're going to shoot, don't talk. All right, welcome back. 5:37 on your ride home on this Monday. Hope you had a great day at work. Hope you had a great weekend. It is The Drive with yours truly. It is time for the good, the bad, and the ugly of it all. A lot of stuff taking place over the weekend. I know Chris Mathis has got some stuff that he wants to talk about, too, on the good, the bad, and the ugly. Don't you, Chris Mathis?
Oh, yeah, I definitely do. Want me to get started first today, Tom?
Listen, if you want to go, go ahead.
Yeah,
Have at it.
All right, I'll go at it. My good, Mac Hollins became the first player since at least 1950 to score a postseason touchdown after arriving to the game dressed up as a Muppet. That is a true fact there.
What?
You know what? He showed up, though. Big moments. He had a couple of big catches yesterday.
He did.
Just wasn't enough for the Bills to get the job done.
That touchdown catch was extraordinary.
Dude, he looked really good.
I'm telling you.
It looked like Atlanta didn't utilize him correctly last year. Well, they didn't have a quarterback.
Yes, they did not have a quarterback. The quarterback that they had, that they paid all that money to, stopped playing about midway through the season.
Oh, man.
Which allowed the Buccaneers over.
No. You insulted him a little bit.
It allowed the Buccaneers to come back and win the South because the Falcons had it all but sewed up until they didn't.
Now, this could also be controversial for me, but good is Patrick Mahomes back for another Super Bowl in order to potentially win 3 in a row and make history. I'm all for the history. I don't want him to surpass Tom Brady. However, I do want to see him pull off a three-peat with the Chiefs as Super Bowl champions. Also, Nikita Kucherov had a great overtime winning goal over the weekend. Second player in Lightning history.
Good for Kucherov!
Yeah, 100 career three-point games. Second player to do so, just behind Steven Stamkos. The bad, Josh Allen, first quarterback to lose 4 playoff starts against another quarterback. Also, the spot of a football is a problem of course, the playoffs, but more importantly, just in general, Tom, the way they spot the football, I love the old-fashioned way of doing it, but it's just not efficient enough anymore. They have to make a change. And then also, let's go to my ugly, Dylan Raiola, the quarterback for Nebraska. He was in the Chiefs' locker room.
What the hell was he doing in there?
You know Patrick Mahomes was cool with that, dude.
Come on.
He had to have been.
bum.
He is a bum.
I think Mahomes loves it, honestly. I really think he does. Because
why?
He has,
because there's some
idol.
guy out there that looks like him
and wants to be just like him? Yeah, I think so.
That's ridiculous.
He's in the locker room with the Chiefs. Unreal. And then a pair of quarterbacks lose in back-to-back weeks after key drops. Josh Allen has now had it happen back-to-back years. That's my good, bad, and ugly, Tom.
I'm telling you, man. Real bad. All right. So my good, obviously, Jalen Hurts was fantastic yesterday. He really surprised me. So did the Eagles passing game. I mean, if they're able to throw the ball the way they did yesterday against the Commanders, I think they're going to beat the Chiefs in 2 weeks. I do. That passing game go along with that running game, 7 rushing touchdowns between Hurts and Saquon Barkley and company. The Eagles look good in that regard. And look, Steve Spagnuolo with that blitz that caught Josh Allen off guard, I think that was good for Kansas City. So was Patrick Mahomes, obviously, Travis Kelce. How about Xavier Worthy? Remember, Kansas City traded up with the Bills spot to get Worthy. The Bills didn't pick him. They moved down for Keon Coleman, and that didn't work out. Worthy had some things to say, too, about the Bills after the game there, so he kind of rubbed their noses into it. Speaking of the Bills, Josh Allen, good. He was good. Wasn't the reason why they lost, just not good enough. And also good, you mentioned the Lightning, the win in Chicago on Friday night. In the last minute, Jake Gensel ties the game, and then Kucherov with the game winner. That was good from over the weekend. You know what else is good? The Drive headed to Super Bowl Radio Row. That was our big announcement from earlier today. Really looking forward to it. It is exciting, Coach. Maybe if you're there at the Super Bowl, you can come on by and hang out with us on Radio Row.
Not at this time.
No, not at this time. What about Tuesday, Wednesday? We're there all week. Probably not. I don't know. Is right. But we'll be there all of next week. New Orleans, the Big Easy. Can hardly wait for that setup. All right, bad. The Commandos, 4 turnovers. You can't have it. And all 4 turnovers led to points for the Eagles, 4 touchdowns, in fact. Just terrible. The Bolts lost in Detroit on Saturday night. That was bad. They got shut out. Dalton Kincaid dropping that ball on 4th down. Man, oh man, it doesn't get worse than that for Dalton Kincaid. Much like Mark Andrews from the week before with the Ravens. So Dalton Kincaid's going to be thinking about that for a while. Ugly, going back to that Lightning loss in Detroit. Not without some controversy. Emil Lilleberg with a very questionable hit on JT Compher. He's going to have a hearing with the NHL's Department of Player Safety. I mean, anytime you go up high on a guy, his head and neck area, you might be looking at a suspension there. So that certainly was not ideal. The referees, and you made mention of it, Chris Mathis. I mean, come on. 4th and 1, early in the 4th quarter. The Bills were up by 1. Josh Allen got that first down. He was there. He got to the 40. If you get to the 40 or you touch the 40, you had the first down. One referee said yes. The other referee comes from the other side of the field, said no, he was short. They went to replay. Well, they can see Josh Allen. They couldn't see where the ball was in relation to the line to gain, and unfortunately, they overruled it and gave the Chiefs the ball. It was a very big play. The referees, man, I just can't have it. Ugly Liam Cohen with the stupid videos up there, the whole Duval thing. Give me a break. Stop with that. Garbage. And Taj Bradley, this is my last one. He was inside the Trop, and on his social media, he put a picture of what it looked like, face up, looking up at the empty roof of Tropicana Field. It just looks really awful and ugly and just dismal. And I don't know what's going to happen there.
Not good enough. How's that?
It is not good enough. You're playing at Steinbrenner Field, Kevin Cash. You better be ready for some hot, sweaty nights. And there you have it. The good, the bad, and the ugly from over the weekend. You guys can give yours at 888-546-4620.
Duval.
Shut up. Give me a break. Clown, man, absolute clowns. Clown show. Let's go to Gio and Brandon. Gio, what's going on?
Hey, I don't know if you like oysters, but when you go to New Orleans, you and Chris got to go to Drago's Charbonne Oysters. Trust me, brother. They're awesome.
I will put it down on the recommendation list. I'm not a big oysters person, but I will go to
not a big oysters guy.
Not a big oysters guy.
Are you talking raw oysters here? Are you talking fried or just any? Any oysters in general?
Yeah, it doesn't sit well with me.
Wow. Okay.
Sorry.
I get. That's one food that you either like or you hate. There's no in between.
Correct.
Kind of like spaghetti, right?
Well, look, I mean, everybody loves spaghetti. I would think.
Not me.
What's the matter with you?
I don't like spaghetti, Tom.
How is that possible?
I don't know.
Well, are you going to tell me next you don't like pizza either?
Oh, I love pizza.
Are you sure?
Oh, absolutely. Pizza pie.
All right, the pizza pie. What's the matter? You don't know what you're doing. That's the matter with you. 888-546.
Beignets too, Tom.
Who?
Beignets. Got to get a beignet.
Beignet, yeah, sure.
546-4620. Sorry to cut you off. Got to get that, man. Got to go and get you a cup of coffee. You're not much of a coffee guy, are you?
No, I'm a coffee guy.
Oh, there you go. You got to do beignet and coffee. Have to.
All right, yes. Somebody else gave me a recommendation. The nurse's assistant over at C4MH.com, Donna, she gave me also a recommendation for a place that with great coffee. So I'm looking forward to it. I am. Hit up a jazz place. Hit up some restaurants. We got a couple of reservations down for a couple of places.
Commander's Palace, I'm sure. I hope is up there. Maybe it's a name that you've heard of. GW Fins.
GW Fins. We're going there.
Oh man, top 3 restaurant I've ever been to.
Is it?
Oh, without question.
Yeah, that's one of the joints.
You have to. And I went to. I've been to a 5-star Michelin spot in Chicago, and that GW Fins is right there, dude.
All right, GW Fins. It's on. We got a reservation there.
Nice. You're going to enjoy that.
So we're going. It's there. All right. We're way late for a break. When we come back, Chris Mathis is back with his oysters and everything else. He's going to let you know. Choke him. He's not having spaghetti for dinner tonight, but he will let you know what else is on tonight. I'll be on tonight, too, somewhere. And he's going to have that for you as well next.
You're locked in to The Drive with TKras.
I'm so disappointed because yesterday I had a parlay going through the Hard Rock Bet app, and yeah, I fell short by a couple, unfortunately. But the big game is coming up, and I'm going to get right back on the horse on the Hard Rock Bet app, guys. Get it. Make that money. Download it right now. January is some of the biggest games of the football season. Championship Sunday took place yesterday, and now when it's time for the big game, the Hard Rock Bet app is going all out. They're rolling out over $5.9 million in bonus bets and so much more. They got Profit Boost 2 available for the big game coming up in New Orleans in a couple of weeks. So download it right now at Google Play or the App Store. If your first bet doesn't work out up to $100, you can try again. A no-regret first bet up to $100 on the Hard Rock Bet app. So it's a beautiful thing. Get on it for the big game and make that money. Offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida to wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about gambling? Call 1-888.
Available at Walmart or straighttalk.com.
Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today and start packing.
Live across Tampa Bay, The Drive with TKras on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. What's on tonight with The Drive with TKras?
Yes, sir. And here he is, our executive producer, Chris Mathis.
All right, Tampa Bay, we've got, of course, podcasted on demand, every single feature, interview, hour by hour of this very program. All right there on the newly improved, updated, renovated iHeartRadio app. You want to install that on your phone without question. If you've not done so, now you can offer and add presets just like you could in your car. And if you're listening to music, you can actually follow along with live lyrics, which is the only music app to do that live on radio. So really neat stuff there. And then, of course, we do have TKras. TKras, you guys can keep up with him after the show. That's what's awesome about Tom, is another opportunity to follow him into his sports coverage. And
why would anyone want to do that?
Oh man, you know why? If the company's calling you to be on TV, you're going to say yes.
I despise him.
You're going to say yes. Talk about where you're at tonight on television, Tom.
10:30 tonight on Bay News 9. On Spectrum Sports 360, we'll talk Bucks. We'll talk Liam Cohen, his departure, the search for an offensive coordinator, the Super Bowl matchup, all things Bucks and NFL tonight at 10:30 on Bay News 9. So I hope you guys can tune in and see what a perfect face for radio looks like.
And there you have it. That is what's on tonight. Not spaghetti for me.
No spaghetti? I can't believe what I'm hearing. Jeez.
No, but
who the hell doesn't like spaghetti?
If you can make some mad spaghetti, I might be interested.
You know who makes really good? My sister. Unbelievable.
Yeah, you do brag about that a lot. In
I
a good
do.
way. You're like, hey, I'm going to my sister. I'm getting spaghetti. I'm like, oh, man, that's got to be some good stuff.
It is good. It's exciting. It is exciting, Coach. When she calls me up like, hey, I'm making spaghetti. Boom. Vapor trail, baby. Because she lives right there in the neighborhood. And I'm there. Incredible spaghetti with the bolognese. And so good. So good. You don't know what you're missing, Chris Mathis.
Well, here's the thing. Even if it's something that doesn't interest me as far as food goes, or if it's something I'm so-called scared to try, I will try it for sure. I mean, I don't know if I should say this. I might not.
What?
I went out to Colorado one time and had the Rocky Mountain oysters.
Marijuana?
No.
Oh.
Rocky Mountain oysters. You've had those, right?
Rocky Mountain no.
Oh, man. They were actually good.
Really? All right. Look at Chris Mathis. You're a wild and crazy guy.
Do you know what those are?
I do.
Yeah.
I do know what they are.
It was actually good. Now, would I go out and order that again? No, not necessarily, but it was good stuff, man.
I'm telling you, I'm learning more and more about Chris the Animal Mathis right now.
Chris, I sound like a wrestler.
And a wrestler, like Georgie Animal Steel. By the way, choke him.
Get over here. Put him on. Boom, boom, boom.
Emil Lilleberg of the Lightning suspended 2 games for the hit on JT Compher Saturday night. So you knew that was going to happen because that was ugly. And it led to some scrums. Lightning didn't play well Saturday night. And now they're in the 8th and final playoff spot. They're clinging to that playoff spot. You know, they need to crank it up a notch or two. Certainly, they've got some home games coming up beginning tomorrow night when the Blackhawks come here, incidentally enough. And the Lightning were able to come back and beat them on Friday night in the Windy City. They need to make up some ground. They got to get some points at home. Get some points. All right, 3 hours down. 1 more hour to go as we'll take you up until 7 o'clock on a very busy Monday here on The Drive. Coming up, Liam Cohen introduced up in Jacksonville. What went wrong in the relationship between Liam Cohen and the Buccaneers? How do we get to this point? What about the search for an offensive coordinator? What about the other coaching news from around the league? And the Super Bowl matchup is all set. Who you got? We'll talk to Fox Sports NFL insider Jordan Schultz here on The Drive. That's coming up next.
You're locked in to The Drive with TKras.
Guys, with the new year coming around, I know we had a long 2024. Trust me. You don't have to tell me. It was bad for all of us, and we had a couple of big hurricanes that came through. And if you're still dealing with roof damages, you need to call on my guys over at Green Tech Roofing and Solar, the #1 roofing solution in Tampa Bay. They offer free inspections. Locally owned, licensed, and trusted by the Tampa Bay community. I had damage as a result of Milton. My guy, John Franco, he came over with his team. He surveyed it. Beautiful. They fixed it right there, and I am grateful to them for it. I gave them a 5-star review. I'm not the only one. Green Tech has received over 400 5-star reviews from their work all over the Tampa Bay region over recent years. They do commercial, they do residential. Check out their updated website, greentechroofing.com. You can see examples of the great work that they've done. You can also schedule your free roof inspection there. So get online, go to greentechroofing.com. Green Tech Roofing and Solar. This is Smart Roofing. Tell them I sent you.